Welcome back to another video, my beloved ProGuides family. Today, we're going to discuss Queen of Pain. Item builds, skill builds, her place in the meta, and how to play her. Queen of Pain is probably the single best hero in the game right now, so who else is ready to earn that sweet, sweet MMR? I would tell you to pay attention, but I don't think anyone needs to be told that when it comes to QoP. Today's question of the day: which Arcana do you like the most from the Battle Pass? QoP is great and all, but I gotta choose my one-button boy, Wraith King. So how did Akasha, the Queen of Pain, get on top of the meta? The answer lies in the patch notes. For years, she had a reputation of snowballing early game, then falling off hard and losing your team the game if she died a couple times. Ice Frog saw this, and her eternally sub 50, even sub 45% win rate, and handed out a plethora of buffs. In 7.20, the ultimate Sonic Wave got a 1.4 second pushback pseudo stun at no cost to the rest of the skill. Just a free 1.4 second stun. Can you imagine a different hero just getting a stun added to their skill? She gained agility, intelligence, strength. That's right, all three of her attributes got buffed. 7.21 brought with it another massive skill buff. Shadow Strike, her Q, went up to 90 damage from 75 at max level. Just a casual 20% increase in damage. This ability would see another big buff in 7.25, which increased the slow from 50% to 65%. In the same patch, Sonic Wave's cooldown was reduced by 10 seconds. She received a point of base armor. Scream of Pain received an increase to its AoE. I haven't even mentioned every single buff. If I did, we would be here for an hour. But the best thing about QoP is that she's flexible, when it comes to roles, I mean. This hero is seen from position 2 to 5. That means if you're a hero spammer, you'd be playing one hero but 4 roles, which is kind of funny to think about. As mid, she's a rune-securing lane dominator, roamer, farmer, nuker, and all-around baddie. As off-lane, we have a perfect partner to high-tier melee fours like Tusk and Clockwork, who is also mobile enough to always be part of the fights. As support, QoP is a thorn in the side of those foolish enough to oppose her, or should I say, a dagger in the side. Over and over, ouch, it hurts. This flexibility has landed Akasha the honor of being the 4th most popular pub hero and the 3rd most popular pro hero, behind only Ember and Earthshaker. Before we open the big can of worms that is item builds for a hero that plays 4 positions, let's talk about QoP's skill builds. This is the most common skill build. We start out with 2 points in Dagger because it's such a good harass tool. From there, we transition into maxing Scream by level 8 because the 300 damage AoE nuke is our best option for wave clearing. Taking ult when possible and opting to max Blink second for increased freedom of movement. Worth noting that max level Blink has a 6-second cooldown and Scream has a 7-second cooldown, meaning you will often blink in, Scream, blink to chase, Scream. Talents for this build go Strength, Attack Speed, AoE Shadow Strike, and Scream Fear. Every build will usually take these talents. This build is not so much dependent on your role, but dependent on what your goal in the game is. This is the max DPS build that will focus on winning the lane, making your opponents wish they counterpicked in the process. We still max Scream second to not delay our max farming speed for any longer than necessary. Offlane QoP will go this build the majority of the time, but mid can do it too if you feel it's a great matchup for Dagger. Your go-to build for hard supporting. We will have the most mana issues because of our low net worth on support, so we just don't skill Scream at all because our mana is better spent on Dagger and Blink. We aren't really going to have opportunities to farm either, so you won't need Scream as badly. Dish out the painful max daggers, which by the way do 575 damage over time, and reposition freely with blinks. Item builds! There are a lot, as you might expect from a versatile hero. Standard well-rounded mid. For our starting items, 2 mantles, circlet, branch, fairy fire, 2 shared tangos, or if you don't get tangos, sub out a mantle for a salve. From there, complete 2 null talismans, a bottle, treads, and a wand. The early stat items, Bracer, Wraith, and Null were nerfed in 7.27, but Null kind of wasn't. The mana regen Null now gives is a fair trade-off, more so than what the other 2 stat items got. Orchid will be our first major item. Orchid has always been the most common QoP item, but if there was ever a time to build Orchid, it's now. The item has gotten so much more affordable than what it used to be, and the Oblivion Staff components it builds from got buffed. After that, BKB for magical survivability and Assault Cuirass for physical survivability and DPS. Yules is a very common QoP pickup if you can't wait so long for a defensive item. We don't recommend it after the core items, but rather as your first core item if you're scared of enemy silences or roots. Shiva's is a more spell-heavy alternative to AC that is great against healing now as well. Mjolnir if you need more DPS, and Scythe of Vise for that late-game surprise factor. As for the support build, for our starting items, 2 sets of tangos, circlet, 2 branches, 2 mangoes. Complete Urn of Shadows as fast as possible, then go back for Wand, Boots, and Wind Lace. You don't need to upgrade the boots, most people don't. Support Coop doesn't really benefit from any boot upgrade that much. Spirit Vessel is the natural progression from Urn, then a Yule's for saving yourself and canceling enemy channeled spells or TPs because otherwise Coop has no way to do this. You're free to do whatever you have the gold for after these 2 items. Veil of Discord is a great option if someone else bought an Urn, or if you really want to ring a Basilisk in lane. Ags can work, but really it's just so much gold for a support and is only good if you're fighting non-stop. A Lotus or Halberd to help the team is a nice pickup because Queen of Pain doesn't have traditional supporting abilities, and these items help provide defensive utility for the team. If you watched our offlane guide, you know that your role is to fill in the gaps. This means it could be appropriate to go traditionally support build or mid build depending on how much space your other cores need. But what if your team needs a strong frontliner? That's where this roaming teamfighter build comes in. Starting items: 2 sets of tangos, Fairy Fire, Mantle, Branch, Circlet. Early game: Headdress, Null, Boots, Wand, Drums. Core items: Mech, Greaves, Hood, Pipe. This build is looking to power spike not as an individual, but with your team. For this team-oriented Coop, we have a lot of good similar options like Yule's and Vessel. Unique additional options include Blade Mail, Lincolns, Sanj, and Kaya, and Force Staff against something like Riki or Underlord. Okay, so now that we know how to build and skill, how do we bring it all together in fights? Your biggest priority should be not dying. A smart Coop is a menace, but if you do something like blink in recklessly and just die, you don't offer much. You need to get out all of your spells multiple times, and your ultimate should be well positioned. The first question is to ask yourself, do I need to walk in or blink into this team fight? If your team has already started the fight and some spells have been used, it may be okay to blink into the thick of things, but generally avoid this. Either walk in and save blink to reposition, or only blink in at the edge of your range for dagger, then start walking back and assessing the fight. Say it with me, Sonic Wave is a nuke and a stun. This ult is so crazy good. You can save your team and a fight by pushing back enemies. Do not just use this to kill secure. Aim at the choke point of the fight and let it blast. You'll do damage while also buying space for the team. All your regular spells have a low cooldown. Usually people remember to blink and scream just fine, but Dagger only has a 4-second cooldown, the lowest of them all, and people forget to use it multiple times constantly. Don't do that. Share the love. Within reason, of course. Don't overextend into danger just to dagger the whole team. Identify threats to yourself to determine when to use BKB or Yules. Identify key targets ahead of time to make it easier to decide who to Orchid or Hex. This is crucial because a lot of your counters don't answer Orchid. If you forget to use it or use it too slow, the fight against them becomes an uphill battle. Queen of Pain walks into a bar. There is no counter. Haha, no, I'm joking, but it can feel that way sometimes. If you're staring down an enemy Coop, here are your best options. Puck is a classic answer because you can dodge the dagger with phase shift, forcing her to max scream, which in theory you can also dodge if you're prepared with good reflexes and ping. Just make sure you practice dodging dagger a few times because you only want 1 point in phase shift. You have to be able to dodge it with extreme consistency. The silence is annoying for her, but not nearly so much as Dream Coil, which completely stop blink. A coiled Coop is a dead Coop. Viper does well not because you can dodge or purge dagger, but because you can deal just as much damage back with corrosive skin. Go Orchid first on Viper against Queen to make her game even harder. Medusa will often do great against Coop because of her insane tankiness. Coop is a burst hero. Sure, she can chase a hero down with blinks if the burst doesn't work, but as Medusa, you can just right-click her if she does that and she'll be forced to back down. Ember Spirit doesn't love laning against the Coop, but later on you should have a good time. She cannot blink when chained and cannot get rid of Flame Guard easily, which will prevent her from committing on you. For offlane, Legion and Tide are 2 heroes with purges for Orchid and Dagger and long stuns to lock her down. What more can you want? Usually you won't get to counterpick as support, but here are some first pick options if you're afraid of Coop or are playing Captain's Mode. Oracle, Shadow Shaman, and Skywrath Mage all have Disable, Oracle has purges, and Big Sky can just straight up solo kill a Coop without a defensive item, and Shaman just has excessive lockdown. QoP is universally good, but we especially crush heroes like Clockwork and Razor because we can just blink away from their would-be scary spells. We love seeing shorter ranged heroes with no sustain like OD and Monkey King because the dagger just messes them up. Wow, okay, that does it, guys. Everything you wanted to know about QoP and more. If you still want to know more, please leave a comment with your questions. We have a great community you can discuss it with, and we might even respond ourselves. As always, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe to be notified of our next video. I hear for every 100 likes this video gets, the hero patch will come out a day sooner. See you guys in the next one.